we saw from the side in the second half last week compared to the second half tonight? Do you have to question the intensity of the group's effort tonight?
Well, I think the thing about effort is there's some intangibles, but the tangibles that you can measure and pressure probably on the positive side of the ledger as it's measured in the current game. Plus 18 in tackles, although we probably left at least 18 out there. No, I didn't think it was effort. I thought we got soundly beaten in centre bounce and lost momentum. We set the game up the way we wanted it to look in the first quarter, and it looked good. But I mean, the reality is that it's not all centre bounce. But when you lose, well, you win hit-outs plus 11, and you lose centre bounce 19-6. They take, I think, 19 of those centre bounce wins into 16 inside 50s and score from it. The rest of the game's hard to arrest that momentum from that point on. So that was clearly the biggest issue for us throughout the game. The end result looks like probably lack of effort, but in terms of the things that we tried to get on our terms, we lost momentum in some of the key areas of the game. So that was more of a concern for us today.
When they win centre bounce so significantly and dominate from stoppage, how disappointing was it tonight that you weren't able to win the territory back and sort of broke down in your defensive half?
I don't know that we broke down in our defensive half. I mean, I thought Mackay was outstanding. I think our defence held up under a tidal wave of pressure.
Ball movement,
Yeah, well, I mean, Port went one-on-one after quarter time, and that should have worked to our advantage, but it didn't. So credit to them that they were able to stem that. But again, we were beaten soundly in the contest where it mattered, and most of that's stoppage, centre bounce, and then outworked from that part of the game. So in terms of the territory battle, it was in our favour early, and in the end, the difference in territory is not that much. So I wouldn't put it down to that. I'd again look at when minus 20 in inside 50s against, the 12 of them came from centre bounce.
So there's a class difference between the groups. They've obviously got classy guys in that centre square. You've got some good players, merit. But what disappointed you most, I suppose, about your inability to break even?
Oh, look! In the end, it's a good wake-up call for our guys. It's been a strength to our game. We're only 4 games in, but it's been a strength for us. And we got, and sometimes just a bit of a perfect storm. Whatever we changed made it worse. We were beaten on the inside. We held outside. Then we held outside. It flipped. Got beaten inside, beaten outside. And that's a real credit to, Rosie and Horn Francis were just, totally dominant in that part of the game, and around the ground. So they were clearly the 2 dominant players on the ground, and certainly wasn't want for or a lack of change of matchups. We threw them around, and whatever we threw at them, they were good enough to beat them. So that's a disappointing part of the game, but that's the difference right at the moment between the 2 sides. We showed for a quarter that I think we could match them in that space, but the game goes for 4 quarters, not 1. Was
that the message post-game?
Yeah, big part of it, and the big part of the message is Port right now are where we want to be, and they gave us a good lesson tonight. And you can be clearly very frustrated and disappointed, but you've got to learn your lesson and progress from there. So there's parts of our games that have been a strength in the first 3 rounds, and it clearly wasn't tonight.
Sounds like Archie's hurt his hamstring. How bad does that one look?
Oh, he felt it. So in the modern age, sometimes you don't even need to feel it to be an issue. If you have awareness, that's bad enough. So the fact that he felt it suggests that he won't play next week. But I noted Horn Francis had a 1-week hamstring, so let's hope it's that, and Archie plays like him next week.
So he's one of maybe 5 or 6 over the past 6 weeks who've had soft tissues at the club. Guelphy, Ridley, Parrish, Perkins. There might have been one I'm missing there, Reid. Is there an issue overall?
Well, it's hard to sort of sit here and say no. We'll just have to go and be really diligent in assessing, what's happening there, because it's, we run a really, like all AFL clubs, a really thorough medical program, but at the moment we're being hurt by some soft tissues, which, you like in a full contact sport there are some unavoidable injuries, but you like to think the soft tissue ones are the ones you can do something about. So yeah, we'll need to go to work on that.
When you've got a player such as Rosie, who's so dominant, and Vaughan Francis, I mean, what are your options in that? Because he was getting separation and running out of the front of the stoppage so easily. Can you tighten up? I mean, what's your options?
Yeah, there are lots of things you can do in the centre bounce, but as I said earlier, we flick things around, and whatever we changed, they went to the opposite. So that's full credit, to them. If we controlled outside space, they won it on the inside. When we went to work on the inside, they bet us outside, which is, you're probably limited if you're getting smashed in the ruck, but that wasn't the case. So that's the most frustrating part. It's a real anomaly to win hit-outs by 11 and lose first possession by 17. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
Have you got an update on Jordan Ridley and where he's at in his rehab?
Oh, he's had a recurrence of his quad. So what that means in terms of how long it'll be, but I mean clearly when you have a recurrence of exactly the same injury, it's going to be at least as long as we suspected the first time around. So that's, but again, from my perspective, we've just got to move on and give other players opportunity and support Rids and make sure that we're putting in a program that mitigates these things happening again.
Just Matt Golfy, is he on track? Has he had a little hiccup as well?
Well, my information is that he's just slow in his progression from what was, and we described, and as a minor calf issue round one, so minor that he didn't know he'd hurt his calf after the game round one. So that was only on scan that it showed some muscle damage, and it's not progressing as our medical team would have expected. So my information, it's not like Ridley where he's had a recurrence of the same injury, but it hasn't healed. So yeah, it's very frustrating.